When our kids were young, some good friends of ours invited us to take a pilgrimage to America's holiest site, Disney World. And so we set off with the kids, unsure of what we were doing, because Christine and I hadn't been there since we were kids, right? They said, okay, first tip is you leave the little ones at home. So we only took our 5 and 6-year-old. We go there, and again, we don't know exactly what they're doing, so our friends are in charge of the itinerary, what we're supposed to do, the schedule, and they tell us that one thing you have to do is you have to be at the end of the night in the park when the fireworks go off, and then the park closes. So I stayed up way past my bedtime, and I ended up watching the fireworks with all of our friends and family, and they were right. I mean, as soon as those fireworks are over, everybody knows there's no more rides, and so everybody heads immediately for the exit. So we are weaving our way, talking, having fun, trying to find our way to the front gate. When my then 5-year-old daughter, Madeline, came up to me, she's like, hey, can I go up with the big kids? And, Christine and I prided ourselves on being free-range parents before that was cool. And we're like, sure, go do it, So she goes up there with her friends, and we're finding our way eventually to the gate to leave. And we look around, and Madeline's gone. And all of a sudden, I thought free-range parenting was cool, to I'm scared to death like that, right? I mean, if you have never lost a kid even for a moment, it's hard to put into words the fear that grabs your heart as you're watching all these crowds, masses of people, and you don't know where your little girl is. All you can think is, I've got to find her. And our friends, they were scared too, which made me more scared. So they're feigning out, they're retracing steps, trying to go back to find where did we lose her? And I'm running around thinking, where do pedophiles take kids? Where do pedophiles take kids, right? I mean, it was just completely irrational, but that's kind of the point. It's hard to put into words that panic. Christmas, we usually consider it through the eyes of Mary, who took a huge step of faith and surrendered her life to God's plan. Or we think of Christmas through the eyes of Joseph, who endured the public humiliation of his soon-to-be wife being pregnant with someone else's child. At least that's what his neighbors thought. Or we think about Christmas through the eyes of the shepherds, the first outsiders who the angels appeared to announce that the Messiah has been born. Or we think about Christmas through the eyes of Herod, King Herod, who was threatened because there had been a new king born in Israel. Or we think of it through the eyes of the wise men who came and paid homage to that king. But today, I want you to consider Christmas through the eyes of a father who lost his son. Jesus said that he came to seek and save the lost. And when my daughter was lost at Disney and all those crowds, there was only one thing I wanted, and that was to find her. I would have done anything to find one little lost girl. And that was the Father's heart that first Christmas. He would have done anything to find lost sinners. The Gospel of John begins this way. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him, all things were made. Without him, nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Each of the 4 Gospels has a certain emphasis. It wants to make sure you understand and catch. So Matthew wants to make sure that you know that Jesus is the King of the Jews. And Mark wants you to know that Jesus was the suffering servant. And Luke wants you to know that Jesus came for outsiders. And John, well, John wants you to behold the eternal Son of God, the light of the world. The light of the world. See, John tells us that before there was a baby in the manger, the Word was with God. The Word was God. The Gospel of John, along with the rest of the New Testament, was written in the Greek language. And so here's what it might have sounded a little bit like. In the beginning was the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God. Now, John chose that word Logos very intentionally because the Logos was a big deal, an important concept in Greek philosophy. All the famous Greek philosophers that you are familiar with, well, they all believed that the Logos was eternal divine reasoning that brought order and made meaning out of our world. The Logos was an idea, not a person. The Logos was far away, not near. The Logos was unknowable. See, the Logos was the God of the philosophers, the God of the academy, the God of the mind. But John makes a claim that changes everything, because John says that the Logos became flesh. Verse 14, the Logos became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. John says that the unknowable God made himself known to us. Verse 18, no one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God, and his closest relationship with the Father, has made him known. Jesus revealed to us what God is like, and what he tells us about God is that he is full of grace and truth. The truth is that, like my daughter, we are lost. We are lost and we can't find our way back home. Sin has ruptured our relationship with God. Sin has made us sick, so that we know that we aren't the people that we should be. We aren't the people that we want to be. In a divided world where you can't get people to agree on much, you can get every single person to agree on this: something is terribly wrong with us. Something is terribly wrong with our world. The only Christian doctrinal claim that can be proven by just looking at the day's headlines is the doctrine of sin. Where do hate and death and injustice and greed come from? Where does the selfishness in my own heart, the pride, where does it come from? The Bible says that the answer to what is wrong with us and what is wrong with our world is sin. See, when Jesus died on the cross, what he was telling us is that our fundamental problem is not psychological. It's not financial. Our fundamental problem is not political, it's not sociological, which is why God didn't send a therapist. It's why God didn't send a CEO or a president or a professor. No, when Jesus died on the cross, what he was telling us is that our fundamental problem is that we are corrupted by sin, that sin has separated us, and that's why God sent a Savior. See, the truth is that we are lost in sin. The grace is that God sent his Son. The grace is that God became flesh. The grace is that God came to reconcile what sin separated. The grace is that there is forgiveness in Jesus, that lost people can come home. Jesus does for us what we could not do for ourselves. He gives sight to the blind. He heals the sick. He raises the dead. He repairs the world. But Jesus is not just some spiritual teacher. Hey, you've missed it if you think that all of this means that Jesus is a respected spiritual guide or guru. No, it's far more radical than that. The Logos became flesh. The Logos, the word Jesus, is God revealed to us. C.S. Lewis understood the importance of what was being said. So here's from the Mere Christianity, written a little after World War II. Lewis writes, then comes the real shock. Among these Jews, there suddenly turns up a man, Jesus, who goes about talking as if he was God. He claims to forgive sins. He says he's always existed. He's come to judge the world at the end of time. Now let us get this clear. Among the pantheists, so here he's talking about all of Eastern religions, like the Indians, anyone might say that he was part of God or one with God. There would be nothing very odd about it. But this man, Jesus, since he was a Jew, could not mean that kind of God. God in the Hebrew language meant the being outside the world who had made it and was infinitely different from anything else. And when you have grasped that, you will see that what this man Jesus said was quite simply the most shocking thing that has ever been uttered by human lips. The most shocking thing to ever be uttered by human lips was Jesus' claim to divinity, that he said, I am God. God descended to become a man, to pursue lost sinners like you and me. He wants lost sinners to come home. Do you want to go home? Jesus made a way for you to go home to God. John 1, he came to that which was his own, But his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. He gave them the right to come home. See, whatever brings you here today, I want you to know that God invites you. God invites all lost people, no matter where they are, where they find themselves, to come home. He made a way so that you can enjoy all the peace and joy and satisfaction that you and I desperately crave. Let's go back to Disney. My daughter's lost. I can't find her. I'm running around like a fool. So is everyone else. I'm afraid that we've lost her. I'm afraid she's become a statistic. But before we entered the park that day, my wife had written down, a far wiser woman than me, by the way, she had written down our phone number and put it in our kids' pockets. And she told them, she said, if you get separated from us, what you should do is take this to a mom. Find a mom. She said it over and over, find a mom. And take this piece of paper to the mom and ask that mom to call us. And you know, in her fear, that's what my daughter did. It was the last time she ever did anything that we asked her to do. But she did it at the most important moment, because that's how we found her. She knew she was lost. Do you know you're lost? She knew she was lost. And so she went and found a mom, and she took out that piece of paper, and she said, will you call my mom? I'm lost, but I want to find her. And at that moment, when we found my daughter, panic went away, and in its place was joy, inexpressible joy. Jesus said that all of heaven, all of the angels rejoice, are full of joy when even one sinner repents. But think for just a moment, if we're gonna consider Christmas through the eyes of the Father, then he did not lose his son like I lost my daughter. No, he sent him. Imagine how much God must love you to purposefully, to intentionally send his one and only son for lost sinners like you. That's why we can say that God spells love, G-I-V-E. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son. See, whatever brings you here today, I want you to know that Christmas, well, it's the good news that God hasn't given up on you. It's the good news that no matter where you are and how lost you are, you can find your way back to him. Christmas is the good news that love has defeated evil, that truth replaces lies, and that despair is overcome by hope. See, Christmas, well, it's the good news that the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not. The darkness cannot. It will not overcome this light, not overcome the light of Christ, and all because a child was born in Bethlehem. Stand in the hope of Christ, and let's sing.